โอเคค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ อันนี้ผู้ปกครองแล้วก็น้องๆทุกคนนะคะ วันนี้ที่เราจะมาดูกันนะคะ จะเป็นใน topic ที่เกี่ยวกับOverbroeck College ที่อยู่ที่เมืองที่ออกฟอร์ดนะคะ ก็จริงๆแล้วในส่วนของตรงนี้ค่ะ section นี้จะใช้เวลาในการทำ presentation ประมาณ 40-50 นาทีนะคะ โดยเจ้าหน้าที่ที่ชื่อคุณแอนดรูจากThe Overbroeck เลยนะคะ ก็ในระหว่างนี้ค่ะ ถ้าเกิดว่าผู้ปกครองหรือน้องๆคนไหนมีคำถามก็คือสามารถทิ้งไว้ในแชทบอกได้เลยนะคะทางเราจะขออนุญาตตอบคำถามหลังจากที่การทำ presentation เสร็จแล้วนะคะแล้วก็อันนี้พี่บีขอแนะนำตัวก่อนนิดนึงค่ะอันนี้พี่บีนะคะชื่อจริงภัคควรันก็คือเหมือนจะเป็นพิธีกรเนาะแล้วก็จะเป็นคนที่ช่วยพูดคุยแล้วก็เป็นคนส่งคำถามให้กับทางเจ้าหน้าที่ของโรงเรียนนะคะก่อนอื่นเลยเนี่ยอยากจะแนะนำนิดนึงว่า Appa คืออะไรเดี๋ยวเรามาดูเซอร์วิสของ Appa ก่อนนะคะว่ามีอะไรบ้างเนาะค่ะก็คือจริงๆ Appa เนี่ยค่ะจุดมุ่งหมายของเราเนี่ยก็คือการที่จะเลือกโรงเรียนหรือเลือกมหาวิทยาลัยที่เหมาะกับน้องๆแล้วก็เหมาะกับความต้องการของน้องๆด้วยนะคะอย่างในส่วนเซอร์วิสของเราเนี่ยก็คือมีตั้งแต่ boarding school เลยก็คือจะเป็นในส่วนของน้องๆที่อยากไปเรียนต่อม.ปลายก็มีนะคะแล้วก็มีทั้ง summer camp ด้วยแล้วก็เป็นในส่วนของตัว foundation ค่ะก็ foundation ก็คือใครจบม.5 ม.6 อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะสามารถไปเรียนต่อได้ไม่ต้องรอม.6 ก็ได้นะคะจบม.5 มีเกรดเทอม1สามารถยื่นสมัครไปเรียน foundation ได้เลยค่ะแล้วก็จะเป็นในส่วนของปอตรีในส่วนของ undergrad โปรแกรมนะคะรวมถึง master ด้วยค่ะแล้วก็ในส่วนของตัวโปรแกรมคอร์สกฎหมายอย่างเงี้ยค่ะ LLM ของเราก็มีเหมือนกันนะคะแล้วก็อย่างบางคนเนี่ยก็คือจะมีทั้งเป็นถ้าสนใจที่จะให้เราติดต่อค่ะคือตรงนี้เนี่ยไม่เสียค่าใช้จ่ายเลยนะคะจะเป็นในส่วนของ standard package ที่เป็นตัว free of charge นะคะตรงนี้เนี่ยเราก็จะดูได้เลยตั้งแต่ไม่ว่าจะเป็น boarding school หรือ university อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คนไหนสนใจสามารถส่งเอกสารมาให้ทางเราดูก่อนได้นะคะแล้วก็อย่างในส่วนของถ้าเราจะสมัครมหาวิทยาลัยเนาะเขาก็จะต้องมีการยื่นSOP ด้วยค่ะก็คือตรงนี้เนี่ยสามารถเราให้พี่ๆมาช่วยกันตรวจได้เลยเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าเป็นตรงเนี้ยค่ะก็คือ free of charge เลยอีกทั้งตรงนี้เราจะช่วยดูเรื่องวีซ่าให้ด้วยนะคะแล้วก็เดี๋ยวจะดูในเรื่องของการตรวจปอดการตรวจสุขภาพก่อนเพื่อที่จะเตรียมไปยื่นวีซ่าด้วยก็คือจบทุกขั้นตอนเลยค่ะแต่ว่าหรือว่าถ้าเกิดว่าคนไหนเนี่ยอยากจะลองมีมหาวิทยาลัยต่างๆที่รู้สึกว่าตัวเองอยากได้ทักษะเพิ่มในการเขียน SOP เพิ่มหรือการเขียน essay เพิ่มอย่างเงี้ยค่ะให้เราทั้งรีวิวแล้วก็มาช่วยกันวิเคราะห์ข้อมูลว่าเอ๊ะแบบนี้ได้ไหมอย่างเงี้ยค่ะเราก็จะมีตัว Premium Package ให้ด้วยนะคะแล้วก็อาจจะมีเป็นในส่วนของ add on เพิ่มเติมอะค่ะที่เหมือนกับว่าเรามาดูว่าเราควรจะเพิ่มตรงไหนเข้าไปเพื่อที่จะให้ได้เข้า Top University หรือว่าจะเป็นในส่วนของมหาวิทยาลัยที่ ranking ดีๆหน่อยค่ะตรงนี้เราก็มีเซอร์วิสเหมือนกันเพราะฉะนั้นก็คือครบวงจรเลยค่ะอันนี้ก็คือจะเป็นมหาวิทยาลัยนะคะที่น้องๆเข้าก็คือมีตั้งแต่มหาวิทยาลัยตั้งแต่ท็อปไปเลยก็คือมีหลากหลายมากเลยซึ่งตรงเนี้ยค่ะน้องๆบางคนเนี่ยก็เรียนตั้งแต่ม.ปลาย boarding school อย่างเช่นโรงเรียนที่เราจะมานำเสนอวันนี้ก็คือน้องๆที่จบจากที่นี่ก็สามารถเข้าท็อปยูได้นะคะหรือว่าน้องๆคนไหนเนี่ยถ้าเกิดว่าเรียนม.ปลายไปแล้วพี่เตรียมตัวไม่ทันอะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็ไม่ว่าจะเข้าไปเป็นปตรีแบบนี้ทางเราก็ช่วยได้เหมือนกันนะคะ โอเคจริงๆเดี๋ยวอันนี้จะเป็นเซอร์วิสคร่าวๆนะถ้าเกิดว่าใครสนใจหรืออะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะก็คือสามารถสอบถามข้อมูลพี่ๆเบื้องหลังได้เลยค่ะตอนนี้เดี๋ยวเราอาจจะพักกันแป๊บหนึ่งนะคะเดี๋ยวอาจจะรอน้องๆเข้ามาเพิ่มเติมนะค่ะแป๊บนึงนะคะโอเค ตอนนี้เจ้าหน้าที่ของเราก็พร้อมแล้วนะคะแล้วก็คิดว่าน่าจะเป็นเวลาที่เหมาะที่เราจะส่งต่อให้เจ้าหน้าที่ของทางโรงเรียนเนาะโอเคค่ะ Okay, so I think everyone is excited and ready to get to know more about the Overbroeck. So please join me welcoming Mr. Andrew, Vice Principal and Academic Director at Overbroeck. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very
Hello.
much. Thank you for your
You're
welcome.
welcome.
So if it's okay, I'll share my screen and just talk a little bit about. You're going to do it for me. Fantastic. Hang on, let me just share the screen.
Let me help you.
Yeah, sure. So I will stop my screen first.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so you can start now.
Okay, we're nearly there. I'm just getting help. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Good. Welcome, everybody, and thank you very much for your time. My name's Andrew Gillespie, and as I was introduced, I work at Overbroeck, which is an independent school in Oxford. And we have many students every year applying to the very top universities. And I saw on B's screen before, King's, Edinburgh, Imperial, Durham, Bristol, Bath. You obviously have students going to great universities, and we do as well. UK and international students go from our school to these fantastic places to study. So I'm just going to talk about the process a little bit and how you apply, and then focus on what makes a great application for these very competitive places. Okay, so I'll begin with the overall process and go through it fairly quickly, and then we'll have a look at how you gain a place at places like Oxford and Cambridge and so on. The process that you probably know is you apply through something called UCAS, and you will submit a form which will then be sent to the universities. You're not stating a preference, you're just listing 5 universities at this stage that you'd like to apply to, and you fill in one form and off it goes. To do that, obviously getting advice on the right universities, the right course, and making sure your application is as strong as possible is what we're going to talk about today. But it'll go off to UCAS. You will get an offer or a rejection, hopefully offers, from the universities. And the universities will say, if you do the following things, we will give you a place. At that point, you then choose 2. So you've put 5 down, but you now choose 2. One is the one you would really like to go to if everything goes well. And the second is, if it goes quite well, but not as brilliantly as you might have hoped, it's your insurance offer. So you've got 2 universities achieved. You take your exams in the UK, you get your results, and then you can decide whether you're going to your first choice or your second choice. And off you go to start your university career. It's important then when you're choosing the top universities to still look for a spread of offers. So that, for example, here's a student who's made sure that the 5 have some difference, because then one could be their firm. If they do brilliantly and get A star A, they go to University V. But the next one is their insurance. If perhaps things go not quite as well and they get AAB, they can still go to University Z. So when you're choosing your 5, probably make sure they're not all the same grade level, because you need a bit of spread to give yourself an insurance. This is from UCAS, and one of my main points today is that there's lots of information on their website, but these are all the things that you're going to have to send. You fill in a form. If you can get support or advice from places like Appa, fantastic, to help you fill in the form and all the boxes and things correctly. What we're going to concentrate on today is making the choices and looking at how you support your personal statement to make sure your application is as strong as possible. On the left-hand side, you will see what most universities will look at. They will look at your qualifications that you've got already. They will look at the qualifications you hope to get, because you're applying usually before you've taken your A-level exams. So it's what what the school expects you to get. They're looking at the personal statement that you write and what that says about your strengths for the course. And they're looking at what the school writes about you, which is the reference. So those 3 things make up your application, and you need those to be as strong as possible. And again, getting expert advice for a place like Appa on how to shape the person. It's your statement, but they will be able to help you understand what's required, and also making sure that the form's filled in as accurately and correctly as possible. On the right-hand side, if it's very competitive, if it's somewhere like Oxford or Cambridge, you will be interviewed. If it's a course like medicine or law, you may well be interviewed. You may also have an extra test, and these are called admissions tests. So for law, one called LNAT. For medicine, there's BMAT, there's UCAT, and again, getting some support on how to prepare for these, getting some practice is important, because those scores will count towards your overall application. If you were doing art or music, you'd have a portfolio as well. So personal statement, qualifications, reference, admissions test, and interview practice. Do go to UCAS, ucas.com. There's lots of information there. And again, that's a reason to work with someone like Appa to help guide you through it. It is fantastic what's there, but there's a lot of it. And so just to work out which bits to use is quite helpful. But basically, all the information about universities, you can explore the universities, you can work out what your career should be. If you're starting and you think you might want to be a lawyer, but you're not sure, you can look here at the different careers and get information. You can take a careers quiz, and you can start to explore different degrees. So you click on this to look at accounting or archaeology and so on. So basically, ucas.com, huge amounts of information, but do get some guidance using it. What are you going to look for? What we're aiming for at the end of kind of today is that we understand how we put in the best application. So we need to have the right qualifications. We need the right subjects. We need to make sure the predictions are good, that we can show all the things we've achieved that are relevant to studying law, for example, and our personal statement looks relevant. Again, do use UCAS, do use the university website. Each university has its own policies. Each department within the university often has its own policies. So you need to do a lot of research or get advice, because this is quite, there's quite a lot of work to be done here. This, for example, is Oxford University, or University of Oxford, and they would tell you about TIE qualifications that they accept or don't accept. Oxford doesn't accept M6, and therefore you might want to consider A-levels to give yourself a UK basis pre-applying to Oxford. That's why many students would come to us to study A-levels. This is UCL, another great university. So they're saying the minimum for any course at UCL is A-level ABB, that's the minimum. They're also saying they would recognise 1 year of a degree at a Thai university. So each university will tell you on their international admissions pages what they count or don't count. So I'm thinking about law, and most of you, I think we said today we talked mainly about law, but I'm thinking about possible degrees. If I don't know what I want to study, or I want to check that I've got the right subjects, that I'm doing the right subjects now, I would go to this website called Informed Choices. This is produced by some of the leading universities in the UK, and they've gathered information from these places, top universities in the UK, saying, what do we think? And you can go and find out more. So for law, probably A-levels are going to be useful to you. As I say, that you certainly need qualifications more than that, the M6. There is an A-level in law, but very few schools do it. So you don't have to do A-level law to study it at university. What you do need to show is the right skills. So law is about reading, synthesizing information, writing, arguing, putting together strong arguments on paper and spoken. So the sorts of subjects you might do: English literature, history, sociology, essay-based subjects, things like economics, logic subjects, politics, essay-based subjects. So they're not saying you've got to have studied law, they're just saying we want certain skills that we want you to demonstrate. Sorry, I'm going through business because we're going to talk about law. So make sure, if you are coming to the UK, that you're doing the right A-levels, that you're doing A-levels that have the right skills for the degree that you want. And for law, you need some logic, some essay writing in there somewhere. Also, do make sure, we get some students saying they want to do law, and when you start asking them why or what they think it is, sometimes it's because they've seen a great film on TV or they watched a great TV series and they haven't really understood what law is going to be like. So you need to check that you really, really want to study law or whatever it is by looking at, again, at the websites and seeing what it contains. Simple personal example, my daughter started law this year at UCL. I don't think she'd realised how much property law there was. She'd looked a lot at criminal, she looked a bit at contract, but there's quite a lot of property law, which in fact she's enjoying, but came as a bit of a surprise to her, I think. So do make sure that you're going through the modules and it is exactly what you think it is and you want to do. All the information to links to university, again, you can find at UCAS. You can type in law and up will come all the universities that do it, of which there are hundreds. And again, it's difficult sometimes to know. So what do I know about Aberdeen? What do I know about Abertay University, Aberystwyth? There are hundreds. And that again is why it's useful to get some expert advice, because this is going to take you a long time. And if you can get somebody to guide you a bit more, it really will help in your whole process. I mean, I look at some of those and I know something about some of them, but these others I know very little about at all. And so, you know, expertise, it's worth reaching out for some expertise. I typed in here, I think this was, I can't remember if this was law or business, but what you can use on UCAS is a filter system. But I typed in, I think, law, and I just put in law starting next year, and look at the number of red dots on that screen. There's a lot of universities doing it. So I can filter a bit more on entry requirements. I can filter a bit more on subjects, but it's still going to be useful to talk to people who've sent, you know, we can see that Appa have sent students already to these universities. They know what Sheffield's like, they know what UCL is like, they know what, so getting that expertise has got to be a useful thing, I always think. So you're doing some research, you're getting advice, you've still got to make choices, and the sorts of questions, this is UCAS again, the sorts of things you're thinking about are, what's the style of university? Do I want a university where all the exams really are at the end of 3 years and it's a formal exam room setting? Or do I want a more modern university where I can do modules and units and get assessed over the 3 years? It's less high risk at the end. Do I want to be assessed by written exams or presentations, teamwork? So again, you need to check or think about how you like to be assessed. For law, at the most competitive places, it's going to be pretty traditional. It's going to be written exams and exam halls. But for other courses, you might find different ways. Location, a lot of our students start with London. It's not uncommon, but London is very expensive. It's very big. You may end up living away from the university in years 2 and 3. So think about it. But there's some other great places around the UK to look at. How big do you want the university to be? What do graduates go on to do? And living costs. There's a whole range of things. Again, talk to some experts and get ideas. You can also these days talk to students directly. So UCAS has uni buddies where you can find somebody from Thailand, for example, doing law and connect with them and ask them what it's like. Again, always look at the university websites, because each university does its own thing. And however much I think I know, things change each year. And I always get my students to write out the universities they're thinking of and print out the entry requirements that university says. This is UCL again. UCL says at least A*, AA, and there are certain subjects that they don't count as much as others. So that's something to be careful of. Am I doing the right subjects? And I know some people on this call are in year 10 or year 11, and this is useful for you to think about the subjects you choose at A level, because you've got to get the right ones. Make sure you're not caught out by the thing at the bottom. So if I was a UK student and I've gone all the way through and I've sent my application off, and actually I've got maths grade 5, this will never get considered. So you need to look at all the entrance requirements. UCL, as I say, have a list of subjects they prefer, and there are subjects they don't prefer. So business is fine, biology is fine, art is fine, but there may be some where they're not so positive. So check the list. The list may be different from somebody else's list. Each university is unique. What you're then trying to do, as I say, is put together your 5. And again, this is done. This list you can see here is put together using something called Unifrog, that our school has Unifrog. But again, your advisors will help you do this. And what you're trying to do is say, for example, these ones in the middle, let's say I'm a student who's a 3A student. Well, Queen's, Belfast is 3As, Exeter is 3As, Southampton is 3As. These are about the level I think I'm going to get. Maybe I'm going to do better. Maybe in the few months left, I'm going to really improve. So King's is A star AA. Maybe I put that in. Birmingham is A star. Cambridge is A star A. So I can put out of my 5, I can put one or 2 in the middle, and I can have some aspirational ones if it goes really well. But I probably want some safety net ones in case it doesn't go well. Maybe I'm ill. Maybe something happens to me. So on the right-hand side, maybe I want something that's ABB or even BBB as a catch. And again, you work with your advisors to be strategic, to have the right combination of subjects. So, right course, in this case, we're going to talk about law, right university, and spread of universities in that we want in the 5. What is the best university in the UK depends, obviously, really on who you ask and what you're reading. There are lots of league tables. One that I must say I use a lot is by The Guardian. And The Guardian is Guardian is a newspaper in the UK, and they produce this set of things based on the things you can see at the top. How satisfied are students with the course? What do they think about the teaching? How many staffed students are there? How much does a university spend on students? So there are different ways, different things you can measure, and that's why you get different league tables. But on this one, they like Oxford, they like Cambridge, they like Durham, they like Warwick. You can see some answers there. However, it does depend, because some universities may be stronger than others at business or law or whatever it is. So that list changes. This is business. It changes a little. Warwick goes up the list there for business. And when we look at law, Oxford, UCL, Cambridge, LSE, King's, Durham, and so on. It doesn't mean that other universities are not good. And as I say, it always depends on what you measure. So be careful not to only look at league tables. There are many other things to think about because there are many ways of measuring the success of anything. So I'm looking though at the kind of ones we've been talking about so far, and I'm trying to work out whether they're going to make me an offer. This is a UCAS slide, and this is what we've got to think about. Do I have the right academic background? If I am likely to get 3 C's at A level, then we can see that UCL really won't consider me. I've got to have a background that's strong. So whatever you're studying at the moment, work hard, do well at it. You need to do well because they'll be looking at what you're doing at the moment. And you need to do well in your studies for things like A level to show that you're on course for the top grades. Have I chosen the subject for the right reasons? Okay, I want to do law because there was a great criminal series on television and the lawyer was brilliant. Probably not the right reason. I want to do law because my parents are lawyers. Probably not the right reason. So we're not interested in your parents, lovely though they are. We're not interested necessarily in the TV that you watch, wonderful though it is. We really want to know what it is that makes you want to study this subject. Not, it's fascinating, it's lovely, it's great. Probably not, I want to make a lot of money. But what about the subject is actually, what do you think you'll get from it? So again, look at the university. What is it you'll study? Why are you studying property law? What do you think you'll get from studying property law? What are the skills that you'll get? Why will you be in a better position 3 or 4 years from now, having studied it, than when you started? What are you going to do with it? So motivation of people, really important, and something you need to think about how you express that. Bullet point 3, how am I going to survive in a pressured atmosphere? Something like law is very competitive. There is a huge amount of work to do. They are going to give you a reading list each week of 25 things minimum, and then say, right, we'll talk about that in a week's time. And you've got to work out which bits to read, which bits you can get away with not reading, how are you going to read really fast, how are you going to summarize it, how are you going to compare and contrast it, and have a life. How are you going to do all that? So they're really interested in how you can manage time, how you can adjust to change, how you can cope with pressure. And universities in the UK are very worried about the well-being of students, the mental health of students. They don't want you doing something that is going to adversely affect your well-being. So if you can show them that you are in a good place for this sort of stuff and you can cope with pressure, that's quite helpful. Many of the students we teach, so we teach a lot of UK students, we teach international students who come to us, and I am always impressed by the fact that our international students have already made a jump. They've already switched to the UK. They've switched systems. They're learning in a second language. They're learning with people from around the world. This is amazing. And this immediately tells a university these are special people. So if you do come and study in the UK before university, well done. And that in itself is something to think and talk about. Do you have a range of interest? Do you have a depth of interest? Have you studied independently? That's a really key question. Is your academic record simply the school entered me for exams, I studied hard and I did well at exams? Okay, great, well done. You got A star, A star, A star. You're really good at maths, economics and history. But what did you do for yourself? Did you only study what the school told you to do? Did you ever read anything that wasn't a textbook? Did you ever watch a documentary or an insight into this subject that you weren't told to by the teacher? Did you ever join a society, go to a lecture, go to a talk, go on a demonstration? I don't know, go on something. What did you ever do that shows that you have a real interest in this? Not your teacher, not your parents, but you. And that we're going to talk about in a minute is so important for the most competitive universities. Okay, so you've got universities in mind. You're going to write a personal statement. This is your chance to sell yourself. You've got 4,000 characters, 47 lines to sum up your life and explain to somebody why they should give you a place. You have a customer. Your customer is the university admissions office, and they're going to read your statement. They're going to look at your academic record. They're going to look at the reference from the school, and they're going to read your statement. And they're going to say, let me see why this person is right for my course. Now, you're not trying to tell them that you are the loveliest person in the world. You're not trying to tell them that you've got more friends than anybody else. You're not trying to tell them that you like cooking. What you're trying to tell them is, I want to study law for the following reasons. I'm going to be good at it for the following reasons. You want to teach me for the following reasons. You're trying to convince the law admissions tutor they want you on their course, and that they are willing, they want to teach you, they want to spend time with you because you are somebody genuinely interested who will add to that course. Whether you're a nice person, whether you like go to the cinema a lot, whether you care for pets, fine, I don't care. Are you going to be good at studying law, and are you going to bring something to it? So that's what you've got to keep thinking about. Why am I doing it? What's the point? What am I going to get from it? What am I going to bring to it? You're going to write that in 47 lines. It's not easy, and you're not going to write it in one go. You're going to have to write and rewrite and edit and check. And again, it's your statement. So the thing on the right on the screen is really important. If you send in somebody else's, they will spot that. Everyone runs through an algorithm to check it. If you send off one that was written 2 years ago, they'll find it. And then your application's over. So this is your statement. Of course, you can get guidance and support. Don't let anyone write it for you, because it won't be your language. It won't be your words. But clearly, feedback on, think about that paragraph. What about that? It is useful. And you can get different ideas from different people. Ultimately, it's your choice what you submit. Do think about, there's a thing they're cross-saying, spelling and grammar. There isn't a spelling and grammar check. And if your form, when you send it, has errors, be careful, because that's suggesting you didn't really care that much about it. You've had a long time to write this, so get it right, check it, double check it, make sure that the language is right, that the formatting's right, that everything the spelling is right, the punctuation is right, and so on. Okay, So there's a lot of words here, so don't pull out the key things. The statement will show you're informed about the subject, okay? If you're not, you sometimes find students, again, writing about law, but actually they're not writing about the law they're going to be studying. They're writing about the law they think they're going to study. Or you get people applying to economics writing about business, or business writing about economics. Sometimes, you know, you haven't put in the work. So well-informed, number one. Strong interest, which you're showing through work experience, reading, research, clubs, online thing, personal statements. Give yourself lots of time. Rework it. Make sure your punctuation, etc., is right. Don't lie. Now, the reason I'm saying that is this is actually a UCAS slide. Don't lie. What they're saying is, look, if you get an interview, which you are, for something like law, is a competitive course, you may well get an interview. They're going to question you on your personal statement. If you say, I've read, you know, I don't know, what have I read? I've read book X. And I've read it in 37 languages, they're going to ask you, and they will be able to find out whether you have or whether you haven't. So you only put in things that you've actually done. Don't put in things you're going to do. I don't care that you say you're going to read these books or you're going to get a job doing this. Have you done it or not? Get it proofread, get people to look at it, etc. Oh, okay, where are we doing now? This is from one of the University of Oxford colleges, and Oxford, Cambridge, and all the other universities talk a lot these days about super curricula. What do you do for yourself linked to this subject? Because if you really, really, really love law, then of course you're reading about it. You're going online, you're going onto YouTube, you're going on to university sites to see what courses are on offer. You're starting up a we love law, let's talk about it, society at school, etc. And if you're not doing that, then probably you don't love law. You might love something else. So just think how you use your time. What excites you? What do you want to spend your time doing? And if you haven't been doing this yet, and you've got time to start doing it, and just see if it excites you. If it doesn't excite you, then go and find something else to study. What do they like? Why do they like supercurricular? They like supercurricular because it's you doing it. Now, you want to be at a school that helps you, that encourages you, that creates time in the timetable for it. So we have part of our curriculum has got all sorts of time and opportunities for students to do this. You want to be in a school that values it. You want to be in a school that looks beyond exams and says, what else is there going on? You want to be in a school that the teachers are curious about this stuff and want to kind of help deliver some of this stuff. But ultimately, you've got to do it. Bottom right, you'll see this is another good website, univ.ox.ac.uk. That's University College, Oxford University. And they've got some really good information on supercurricular. But they say, if you start going outside of exams and outside of lessons, outside of normal lessons, if you start going beyond, then it'll help you decide whether this is the right subject for you or not. If it doesn't excite you, don't do it. It'll help you write your personal statement. There's no point me saying, I like law because I want to do law because I'm good at maths. Let me tell you all the maths that I've did. What have you done that's linked to law? And it'll help you develop the skills, thinking skills that you're going to need. Things like the LNAT, we'll have a quick look at them in a minute. You need a lot of skills for that. You'll find on websites, this is Cambridge, and they say, look, these are some of the things you should be looking at just to get started. If you're interested in the law, read these books, go to these journals, visit these websites, watch these videos, see whether you really like them. Now, you can guarantee that anybody applying to Cambridge who's making a real effort will have done quite a lot of this stuff. Even doing this doesn't get you enough. You've then got to go on it. This should be sparking or starting a journey that says, right, you know, I've looked at this book, it's quite interesting. What else can I read that's similar or dissimilar? There are various books out there. This is from Oxford. Oxford University are producing these things called very short introductions. If I'm honest, I haven't read them, so I don't know whether these are good or not, but it's an introduction to law that might be worth a read as a starting point. But again, you can guarantee that Most people applying to read law have probably read that book. They'll probably put it on a personal statement. So where does yours differ? What are you doing differently? They talk about this. I saw this actually just to prepare this talk. I hadn't seen it before, but there's an interesting website called Oxplore, and they just kind of put up some really big questions. And what they're saying is, look, do you like this sort of question? Do you like thinking about these sorts of big questions? Do you have a group of friends that you could discuss them with? Because these would be quite interesting. What's your view? Could we live without laws? Discuss. That would be quite interesting on a personal statement, because you're thinking about the importance of law in structuring society. Or can you have too many laws? Can you have too few laws? What should you have laws about? What shouldn't you have laws about? How much should the government get involved in it? You know, how much should the law intervene in our lifestyles? Quite interesting debates. So the law website, we're going to see another slide on this in a minute, but I've summarized it for you. So we'll probably skip the other one. The admissions, again, they tell you what they're looking for. This is your checklist. When I write my personal statement, when I am preparing to do things in the coming years or whatever, to end up writing my personal statement, can I show academic achievement? Well, that's your grades and doing well at your subjects. Can I show reasoning ability? Law is about logic, and maybe that comes from your economics, maybe that comes from your computer science, maybe that comes from your physics, maybe that comes from the fact you are brilliant at crosswords or puzzles, or you like doing Rubik's Cube. I don't know, what is it that tells me there's a lot of logic going on? Communication skills. Lawyers need to write accurately, effectively, concisely. They need to present well. So have you done presentations at school, presentations at home? Are you in any drama? Are you in any theatre? What shows those skills? Capacity for hard work. Okay, so that might be a job or a part-time job, or it might be something, but the thing you're trying to bring out is not, I have a part-time job particularly, but I am willing to get up at 6 in the morning every day, even in the rain, and go and do something, because I don't mind hard work. I can read a lot. Law is full of reading. The reading is immense. So I've got to be sure that you can read a lot fast and make sense of it. I could summarize, and I'm interested in it. Same point again, go back to the university, read their website. They tell you what they want, and you've got to show that you are the person this is your customer. You've got to show that you can deliver it. This is Oxford again, just because I'm based in Oxford. A law degree calls for hard work. Reading, lots of reading, lots of online, constantly evolving, thought-provoking. Study law if you like thinking about things. It's not memorizing data. It's legal arguments. Can you argue? Can you come up with original ideas and defend them? Can you sit in, I mean, this is somewhere like Oxford and Cambridge are some of the most competitive, and you actually don't have that many lessons. You have tutorials. So, and you have a debate. That tutor does not want to waste her or his time. So they only want to pick people that they want to talk to for the next 3 years. There's only about 8 weeks per term. So you're going to have about 24 meetings a year, and the tutor's saying, do I want to spend my time talking to that person? How can you convince them on your personal statement and at the interview you're worth talking to? You will be asked not just for your UCAS, but things like for law to do LNAT, which is an online is a test. And this has got multiple choice questions and an essay. This is not about knowledge. This is not how can I learn things. This is about thinking skills. And it's tough. Now, I'm going to show you a few slides to show you the type of test. There's loads of words on the slide, so don't worry, but it's just to give you the idea. You've got to read the stuff on the left and under timed conditions make sense of what to mean. Go back and read that. What does that word mean? The language is tough. The language is tough for even if English is your first language. You know, what is meant by combination? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've got to go back and read now this whole article to try and work out which of those it is, because it's not a word I don't know the context of that word. Here's another one. So you've done that. The next one is another set of passages, and it asks you, what's it asking you? I'm trying to see that. Oh, I've gone backwards, sorry. It's asking me, which summarizes the argument. So all that stuff there, if you are asked to express it in one sentence, is it A, B, C, D, or E? It's tough. And practice these things. You're not practicing the answer. You're never going to get the same question, but you're practicing the style of question. And then you've got to get used to writing these big essays. You know, what about, would you agree that travel and tourism exploit poorer nations and benefit only the richer ones? Discuss. I don't know, never thought about that before in my life. I've got to now write about it. The women now have the chance to achieve anything they want. How would you respond to this statement? Blimey, I don't know. I've got some views, but now I've got to put that into an essay. Practice. You're not going to practice topics, you're going to practice arguing. And if you want to find that, you can go on to LNAT and you'll find some example papers and they will show you what's going on. Get that one? That's about economics. Okay, so these are just some more examples. So sorry, my advice, and then I'm nearly finished. My advice is you need time. So I don't know where you are at the process, but in one sense, the younger you are, the better, because you've got time to start researching your options and you've got time to start building your CV, to build your application. And you can see that there's quite a lot to be done. Obviously, you can do that from where you are now. I think, you know, we find students come to the UK and that helps them in this process. And finding the right place, the right environment to help you do it is really important, I think. So again, if I look at what we do at Overbroeck, we're preparing students for all sorts of courses, including law. And to do law with us, what would you do? We would help you choose your A-levels. If you come when you're younger, you can come and start with us when you're age 13, 14, 15. So we can choose your GCSEs and you'll start the process then. So that's great to start that early. If you come with us for sixth form, so you're coming maybe when you're about 16, we'll help you choose your A-levels. We will help you do choose a research area. So you're going to do your own project. We will put you or encourage you to do an activity called Moot, where you're learning law debating skills. We'll encourage you to do Model United Nations, where you're doing debating. We'll give you reading that we would suggest you do. You'll meet with a kind of academic coach to support you. You will do Plus. So we have something called Law Plus, where you are looking at law courses at university and debating some of the issues. You would do Seminar, where you're meeting with other students, sharing things you've seen and read and articles you've read, etc. So we've got a world that's exciting, full of opportunities to build these skills and this evidence, and a kind of ethos that's intellectually curious. It's helping you to get excited by this stuff and helping point you in the right direction, supported by brilliant teaching. So that's why it works for our students. I say my own daughter went through this whole thing and is now at UCL doing law. So she's been through everything I've just described. So, you know, you've got to find the right place to support you. And by all means, come and talk to us if you're thinking about sixth form in the UK or earlier. And my last word there is commit. You can see from everything I've said, this is not easy and it doesn't happen overnight. And it's whether you want to commit this time and this energy and this effort. And to do that, it's got to be the right course for you. You're only going to commit if law is the right thing. If it's not law, it might be economics or whatever. But part of what we try and do is make sure you're thinking in the right way to find the right thing that you want to commit to, because that's what it's going to take to get there. So I'm going to finish now and thank you for listening. We'll take any questions if anyone's got any. We got any questions? There's one question there. Just going to have somebody.
Okay, yeah, I think first of all, thank you so much for such useful information and presentation today. Okay, so now I think shall we go over the question? I have one question from the parent. Now she is currently in Thai program, should be grade 10. So it is possible to go to study at the Overbroeck, and which program?
Yeah, so absolutely possible, yes. And we have, as I say, we're a UK school, but we welcome a lot of international students and love having them study with us. We've had students from Thailand for many, many years who are fantastic ambassadors of your country and fantastic students to study with and to learn with. And we are very, very impressed and grateful for them coming here. So students can come to us, as I say, from age 13 upwards. What we would do with every student is assess them. And what we have a maths test, we have an English test, we have an interview, we look at their academic record, and that's all to help place them on the right course. So if I've got this right, she's the equivalent of year 11 in the UK. So sixth form might be possible for direct entry, or it may be sensible to go into do what's called a 1-year IGCSE course, which can help strengthen English and get GCSE qualifications. Whether what's right will depend on the student's English standard and academic standard. But yes, in principle, absolutely fantastic. We would help guide and give you feedback.
Yeah, wow, that's good, because I think so many family and children ask me because they're interested in Overbroeck since GCSE or boarding school. So that's good news for them.
Yeah, no, as I say, we're very delighted to welcome you. You could see from the when you saw I don't know if you saw the LNAT test, but if you see the LNAT test, the language requirements there are for any student, UK or international, they're very demanding. And therefore, one of the things I would always stress is the importance of English language. You know, even if people are doing sciences or maths, the value of getting the English language as strong as possible, obviously, particularly for law. And therefore, sometimes taking a year to do the GCSE program, which has got a lot of extra English, puts students in a stronger position long term. Be careful always of rushing, although it's tempting to try and get to the degree as fast as possible, because if you get to the end of your sixth form and your grades aren't as good as you'd like, and your English maybe isn't as good as you'd like, your choices are so limited. And for something like law, they'll be very, very limited.
Okay, so based on your experience, how many percentage that international students can got accepted into top 5 universities in the UK?
Oh, blimey. Actually, I haven't got the number in front of me, but a very high percentage. So there's no, I mean, at our school, there's no difference between the performance of UK and international students. We have some outstanding international students and some outstanding UK students as well. So actually, if I'm honest, I'm not sure we've ever measured it for international. We don't see a difference in that way. I mean, you know, okay. Students are students and they're great. So our students go on to the top universities. They won't all be what's kind of the G5, because we have students doing a range of courses. So some of our students might be going on to do computer games design or filmmaking, and those are not done by the G5. So we have students going on to specialist courses, but the vast majority of our students are going on to the ones that you've talked about. And as I say, it's not a UK international divide. There's an IELTS SAT required from the school. Yeah, good question. So we have our own. We worked with a company. We've got our own tests basically, which have an IELTS equivalent that they're about to enter the sixth form. It's about 6.5 to enter. Students would then carry on getting specialist English, academic English alongside A levels. And we expect every student to get to at least 7. If their English is weaker than that to begin with, then we can provide the international school preparation. Does that make sense? So and that's, again, whatever students want to go on to do, we want them to have the academic English to be able to choose what they do, rather than being forced to choose certain courses and universities. So we'll test, we'll give you the feedback, and we provide specialist support as an integrated part of what we offer. It's not, you know, the odd hour a week by somebody who's not a specialist.
Okay. So if they want to go to top university, I mean, during study A-level course, so the teacher will guideline the student to like which university they should apply for in UCAS.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, another great question. At our school, in the sixth form, we look at what we know about a student. We look at their background, we look at their subjects they want to do, and we look at what they might want to study later. Not everybody knows, but if they do, we look at what they want to study later. We look at their interview notes. We then allocate every student a personal tutor. So we call them a director of studies. And the personal tutor will usually teach that student. So if it's a law student, they're probably teaching politics or history or English or so on. So they're normally teaching the student. They're also looking after that student's academic progress and well-being and welfare and boarding. They are meeting that student individually, very regularly. They're talking to the family so that the family can speak to the director of studies whenever they want, and the director of studies knows everything that's happening. And the director of studies will guide that student and help them throughout the university process. Now, alongside that, we have people organising university visits. We have people organising information sessions. We have specialist training. We bring in experts to do interview practice. But managing the whole process is the director of studies. And that means it's somebody the student trusts. It's somebody the student has worked with for 4 terms. It's not an outside counsellor that they've no idea who that student is. So it's a really powerful system. It draws on expertise and programs from elsewhere, but it's managed by the personal tutor. And therefore they're in contact with them. They've been in contact with the family all the way through. So the family is always, informed, and they know what's happening. And if they want to express a view, they can. And we will manage expectations and different views and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, all right. Because actually, I used to send students to the Overbroeck. She did A-level, and finally she can get into kind of top 5 university too.
Good.
Yeah, she said she had to study very hard.
Good.
Yeah, and
I mean,
yeah.
But you will have to study hard. I mean, whatever degree, if you come to Overbroeck, you'll study hard. But we hope that you're studying the things you want to study in an interesting way. So we don't shout at students. We don't put them in detention. What we try and do is inspire and motivate students so they're studying because they like it. That's our aim.
Yeah, and what about the extracurriculum activities? Does the Overbroeck still provide that for the students? And is that free of charge?
Yes, free. Yeah. So you're getting an education. So I mean, you're not just coming to take some A-level exams. You're getting an education and an experience, and you will benefit from all the people you're studying with and all the things that you're doing. So in terms of activities, twice a week, students can do sports and activities. They choose. Overbroeck's all about, this is 6th form, students choosing the things they want to do. And we use the University of Oxford sports facilities. So if they want to do swimming or basketball or football, that's fine. But equally, they can do, as I say, debating, Model United Nations, art club, film club, so on. They can choose and change that throughout their time. We then have these super curricula, all these other opportunities to study the subject beyond the A-level and to study in your own way and to do projects and research. And that, again, is a huge list. And we work with students to choose the right amount for their time and for what works for them. But all of that is part of, that's part of being at Overbroeck. It's not a lots of little add-on things.
Okay, so I think it's quite clear enough. Not sure if anyone has any questions. You can drop your question here.
That's okay. Again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk. And I'm sure that I hope lots of people will come and benefit from your guidance. And if you need any advice about Overbroeck, just contact us. But you're obviously the starting point in terms of helping people plan their futures.
And thank you so much for the presentation today. And thank you to be our guest speaker.
Absolute pleasure. An honor. Thank you. And thank you for everybody for listening.
And have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. โอเคค่ะ แล้วก็ถ้าเกิดว่า